Hello everyone and welcome back to LewisFiction and welcome to Marvel's Spider-Man 3 Prewrite Part 3. If you have not seen the first part in this series, then make sure you go back and watch them before you watch this, or else this will make no sense to you. But with that being said, let's get straight into this. We continue the story as we open up where we left off. Albert lay on the ground and Cindy stands over him. He's just about alive. This is when Miles confronts Cindy, shocked, saying her name out loud. Cindy, with teary eyes, will look back at Miles, revealing herself to him as well. This is when we get a good look back at Cindy's backstory, revealing more about her character. We will learn that she was bitten by a radioactive spider around the same time that Miles was as well. During this portion of the story, we will get to play a few flashback sequences as a younger Cindy Moon, just as we did for Peter in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Cindy will be 15 at this time, as this flashback will take place during the events of the first game. She will be bitten randomly by a radioactive spider, as it's revealed that when MJ brought back the spider that bit Miles in the first game, another spider had actually escaped at the same time and ended up biting Cindy. The logistics are funny and a bit hazy since Cindy can't remember much about how it bit her or where. All she can remember is freaking out. This is where we are flung into a metaphorical dream sequence, which could be an opportunity for some really cool gameplay. I imagine this part of the game similar to the Scorpion hallucination missions in the first game or the Mr. Negative missions in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. However, once her mother and father found out about these powers, she was told to hide them away forever. However, Cindy didn't listen. She used her powers for gain, to which, just like what happened to Peter, a loved one died as a result of it. Her mother. Her mother's death, however, didn't teach Cindy to use her powers in the need of others, like it did for Peter. Instead, Cindy felt her powers would cause more harm than good, and therefore became closed off and hidden away, just like she was during the scenes at the start of the game. This is why Cindy doesn't use her powers, and this is why she is very conservative away from other people. Cindy explains the only reason she used her powers on this odd occasion is because her father was in trouble and she couldn't stand by while he needed help. That's when Miles goes on to ask about how her father became like that anyway. She says that doesn't matter now. All that matters is that he's safe. Miles asks for her help, stating that he's in too deep and he could really use an extra hand at the moment. And Cindy refuses, however, saying that all she cares about is keeping her father safe. She can't lose anyone else because of these powers. She says, besides, it's his job and that other Spider-Man, and tells him to ask for his help. Miles tries to convince her, however, saying, have you ever heard of great power comes great responsibility? Cindy responds rather aggressively, telling Miles that not everyone wants to be a superhero. Not everyone is destined for a greater purpose. Some people want love and security. She says, is that too much to ask for? Miles shakes his head, as he can't find a reason to disagree with her. We cut to Miles having a moment to himself. He ponders over what's just happened. If it wasn't for Cindy, he would be toast. He'd be dead, in fact. Maybe he can't do this on his own. He still needs Peter. He starts to doubt himself. Everyone is right. Maybe he's not cut out to do this like Peter did for 8 years. He calls Peter to ask for advice, but he doesn't pick up. He records a voice message instead, saying he still needs him, and that things are getting really complicated right now. If he needs Peter at one point in his life, this is the point. He ends the message and puts the phone down, hoping he'd answer soon. We cut to Norman. His plan failed. The monster goblin was taken down, and he needs to capture Spider-Man for his son's safety. But the G-Serum wasn't enough. He realizes that instead of creating something to take him down, he should just hire people who have already experienced doing it before. This is when Norman hires a group known as the Enforcers. The Enforcers are a private mercenary group who in this universe are revealed to have trained with the likes of Taskmaster and the KGB. They have also fought Spider-Man several times in the past, a few being successful at times during Peter's early career. Norman sees them as the best possible candidates that are still living after Kraven's hunt during the last game to go out and take down Spider-Man. We will then catch up with Peter in a few scenes. These will also be controlled from Peter's point of view. These scenes' main purpose is to try and represent how glamorous Peter's life has become ever since he stopped being Spider-Man. We will follow him to a jewelry store where he will end up buying a ring. We will then follow him home, where it is revealed that he is holding the ring behind his back, ready to pop the big question to MJ. He waits as MJ finishes a podcast episode, reporting on the city news. However, after she's finished, she's in a very saddened mood. Peter asks what's wrong as he places the ring in his pocket, realizing that this probably isn't the best time. MJ tells Peter that Miles is really struggling out there, and asks him, do you think you've left him out to dry too early? Peter says no. That if he can take on being the only Spider-Man right from when he first got his powers, Miles should have no problem being a few years into his career. And MJ tells him that's not the point. It still wasn't easy, but it got a lot more difficult now than it was back then. There's monsters, there's goblins, there's venom, there's symbiotes, there's alien invasions, there's deranged scientists going absolutely berserk. Back in his day, it was the Shocker, a vulture, and a couple of thugs. MJ will explain to Peter that something is happening around the city, and with all of these monsters and things popping up, Miles needs his help. Peter will contemplate this. He will sit down and look at his phone, and see a missed call from Miles along with a voice message. He will play it, and it'll be the one from earlier on in the part. In this very raw scene, visually, we will be able to tell that it's hard for Peter to listen to. He places the phone down as it's done, and knows that he made a mistake. He looks back at MJ, who at this point will start to develop a bump. He has to be there for MJ and his baby. But Miles needs his help now. He has one great power, but two great responsibilities. But which one matters more? Peter will press the call button and phone Miles. However, Miles doesn't pick up. He tries again, but nothing. And again, and again. Peter gets frustrated. Nothing! The worst things run through his mind as we cut to 2 hours earlier and over to Miles's POV. We will follow Miles as during this portion of the game he will be encountered by the Enforcers. This will be a gruesome battle, but ultimately will also pile onto Miles at his weakest and most vulnerable moment. This fierce battle will come at a time where Miles's character is at rock bottom, and ultimately this will be his Empire Strikes Back part of the story. Miles will ultimately be defeated by the Enforcers and then taken away to Norman Osborn, all alone, with no help from Cindy Moon nor Peter Parker. This is now the midpoint of the story, where Norman will then bail Otto out of prison and will set him up in a secret underground laboratory and will bring Miles to him. Otto will be impressed by Norman and will tell him to give him a few days and he'll have that cure for Harry worked on in no time. Norman thanks Otto as an unconscious Miles Morales lay there with a faint buzzing coming from his pocket. It's Peter Parker, but there is no answer anytime soon. That is it for part 3 of my Marvel Spider-Man 3 pre-write. If you did enjoy this part, make sure to leave a like and tell me what you think in the comment section down below. It is all heating up now for the final part, or maybe final 2 parts, however many it takes to tell this story. Either way, they will be available next week on Thursday, so make sure you tune in and subscribe, and make sure to comment down below like I said. And I'll see you guys this Sunday for another episode of Spectacular Spider-Man Season 5. Take care, and peace.